Today, I'm going to live break down a recorded interview that I've done with a virtual assistant for an Amazon sourcing role. I'm going to explain what questions I asked. I'm going to look at the answers given, and I'm going to help you to understand what you're looking for when you are interviewing a VA for your Amazon business. This is something we do en masse every single week, and we've placed over 1,000 VAs with over 500 Amazon sellers doing exactly this and more. Let's get started. Cool. So this is the previous video. Let's get this playing, and I'm going to show you now how this works.
Okay, so just want to start off and just say, look, first things first, thank you very much for applying for the role, and hey, taking the time to do the test, really good of you. And hey, look, well done for getting this far, and it's great to have a conversation with you today. So what I want to go through today is very much about getting to know you, who you are as a person. I'll also take some time to talk a little bit about the business, and then also we'll talk a little bit about the role and the job that you'll be doing as well, obviously, if you're successful. But if you just give me 2 seconds, what I'm going to do is just load up my notes and just make sure that I can actually take some notes down while we're doing it. So.
Okay, cool. So before we actually jump into the interview, one thing you may have noticed is I had a kind of like an introduction, and this is really important. The whole point behind an interview is to get to know the candidate. And if you've ever been on the other side of an interview, it's super stressful. So just having a quick script that you read, like explains like what's the interview about, what's going to happen, and really just puts the candidate at ease. Hopefully you understand that I'm quite friendly, I'm quite nice in it. I'm not here to be aggressive. I really want to get the best out of it. And if I can get the candidate to be relaxed, then I know I'm going to get the best answers, and it's really going to be the honest answer. And again, what we're really looking for is I'm trying to find out, is this person going to be a great fit for us? Also as well, do they want to work for us? So if this is going to be the job, I want it to be a win-win situation. So having that interview, that script at the beginning, so helpful. Let's carry on.
But double check, I've got a copy of your CV. I think you sent that through on the link.
Yes.
And I think the first question was...
Okay, so also as well, one thing I didn't actually do it there because obviously we hide the details is the fact that I just reconfirm the information that I already know. So quick run through the CV, the name, the information, contact details. Obviously you might be caught out or like something goes wrong. But also though, sometimes I have seen it where like VAs have sent the wrong information, or perhaps maybe I've got the wrong CV opened. It does happen. Let's jump in.
Just ask is tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are.
For my work experience.
Okay, so this is the first question I ask all the time. Tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are. What I'm really doing is just asking the most open and broad question I can, and I have no expectation of what the answer is going to be, but I am interested to see where they take the direction of the interview, which really shows me what they're interested in. So let's see the response now.
I have been in the call center industry here in the Philippines for 9 years, 4 years as a customer service representative and technical support representative, and then 5 years as a communications and product specific trainer for 2 different companies. And then I've also had virtual assistant experience as a freelancer or a part-time. That's for Amazon and eBay. So we technically do process orders, process RMAs or refunds, and then would filter negative feedbacks for customers, and then would also do data scraping and data scrubbing, and as well as submitting emails to different customers.
So if I just...
Okay, so first things first, I'm going to kind of highlight it there. Good communication skill. I can understand her. She speaks confidently. I really like that as well. And she's not reading from the script. She's just talking. I can see that in the way she looks. I can see it in her eyes. Sometimes you'll see a VA will kind of like scan like this. They're reading off, but also I've got their CV in front of me, so I can read the same things. But she just comes across really well, and I really, really like that. Let's see what my summary is.
Clarify, and I want to make sure I'm clear, my understanding of the work you were doing for him as a freelancer in the Amazon world, in the eBay world, was looking for orders which had been purchased from their store and then fulfilling them through a third-party warehouse, like a warehouse in the UK.
Yes.
And then also just feeding back customer messages and customer complaints. Is that right?
Yes. And then
Okay, so one quick thing to understand there, I asked a clarification question, and whenever we're doing interviewing, the way I like to structure all my questions are big question, big open question to start with. So really there's no easy answer, definitely not yes, no. So tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are. That's the first question. Then what I'm doing is I'm listening for the answers. And when I hear things that I find interesting, I'm just going to repeat those questions back or what I've heard. And I'm going to ask to say, did I understand you correctly? Because this is helping me to understand that what I think I heard, is that right? And I'm looking for the yes. If I don't get like a yes, maybe I get like a lot of information back, then it means I don't really understand and I need to ask another clarifying question. And I'm keep clarifying until I get the yes, that's right. Because once I get the yes, that's right, it means I understand exactly what they did. And now that means I understand what their previous job was, and I understand if they're going to be right for this job. Really important. Now, if you're looking to scale and you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, what can I recommend that's going to save you time? Getting our free job description and VA contract. This is something that we have used to hire over 750 virtual assistants for our clients. And right now you can get it for free by accessing it by looking at the link down in the description. It's going to save you time and help you grow your business much, much quicker.
He also asked me to answer chats through Talk.
Okay.
So if there are any questions there, then I'll have to answer. So that's the reason why within 24 hours, I have to at least log in 2 hours a day to check if there are any unanswered questions.
Okay, fine. So let's just kind of move back on to your last work, which is operations trainer, project information, and business development. So was that, where are you based? Are you at Val City?
Yes.
Okay, so before I jump into like the specific questions, generally the second question I'm always asking is just going to go through the CV. What I'm really looking for is I'm going to run through the history, the chronology of their jobs. There's a couple of things I want to do. Number one, I'm probably just going to focus on the key jobs whereby they might have relevant skills for what I'm looking for. That's going to be important. I'll dig into each of those roles in detail. But number two, I'm going to go through each job, starting at the most recent one, going back, and I'm going to ask two key questions. Tell me about the role. What did you do? Very quickly. And then number two, why did you leave? What I'm really looking for is I'm trying to understand, where is this person going? Like, what's their career path? Why did they choose that job? Then why did they leave that job? And then why did they choose that job? And why did they leave that one? And I'm following the career path all the way towards me, because what I'm really trying to understand is this job that I'm offering them, does that make sense in their career path? Does this look like the right kind of job that someone who does that history would do? And if it isn't, then it's probably not going to work out. But also number two, why are the reasons why they left their previous jobs? And does my job make sense knowing that information? So for example, if they were earning 30,000 pesos in the previous job and they have a history of leaving to get more money, and I'm offering 25, doesn't matter what they tell me, they're not going to last, because I can just see that they're more money focused than what I'm going to offer. But if they were getting 15, maybe 20, and they were struggling to survive, and I'm offering 25, maybe 30 plus bonus, and that means that now they're going to be able to stay at home with their family, cut costs, and earn more money, that's a win-win. So again, we're trying to figure out where this person's going and how our job fits in their career path and their life, which means they're probably going to last with us for a lot longer time.
So was that work at home? Was that on site? How did that work?
Office-based.
Office-based, okay, fine. And you said, how did that work with managing your children? You said you've got 2 kids and you're a single mum at the moment.
One thing I'll just say here is you probably might think I'm being really direct. So I'm asking about like working at home. I'm asking like children, what's happening. And what I'm really doing as I'm analyzing the CV, I'm trying to look for situations whereby there might be situations that are similar to the role that I'm going into or that I'm going to offer them. And I'm trying to see, how did it work? So for example, they've got children and it's going to be a work from home arrangement. How do they manage the children from a work from home arrangement? And I think you're going to see that I actually go into real detail, like how old are they? Who's looking after them? Don't be scared to ask specific questions, because you need specific answers. And if they can't give you clarity, it means they probably haven't thought about it. But if they can give you real clarity or even demonstrated that they've dealt with this problem before, you know that they've solved it already. And so therefore, it's not going to be a problem with you when you hire them into your business. Let's get back.
I really don't know how did I manage it. It's just that I really have to do 2 jobs in a day. That's the reason why I'm even also shocked that I was able to do that. So after my office job, I would log in first and check if there are any questions or unanswered inquiries. And then if there are any orders are fulfilled, and then after that, they'll have to be on mommy mode.
Okay. And how old are your children, may I ask?
Eldest is 9 years old. My youngest is turning 2 years old.
Okay. Congratulations. That's lovely. And for you, 9-year-old I can kind of gather, they might look after themselves, but a 2-year-old, do they get looked after by the 9-year-old while you're at work?
I'm actually living with my parents. That's the reason why it was also kind of helpful, because they would also help me look after them, especially for my youngest child.
Okay, so let me just ask, how did you find the test?
Again, you'll probably notice right now, the next kind of question I move on to after looking at, tell me a bit about yourself, let's go through the CV, let's see if we can spot anything relevant to our role, like, how did you do work from home? What does that look like? Even tell me about the setup. Now I move on to let's talk about the role, the test, the application. And again, what you're probably going to notice is I'm still asking really open questions. I just want to see what they say. I try not to close them down when I change the topic. I want to make it as wide as possible. And by the way, if you're not sure what an open question is, if the question can be answered with a yes or a no, it's called a closed question. An open question is whereby you can't say yes or no to it. For example, how did you find the test? You can't say yes or no, you have to explain. So we're asking a lot of these questions to start with, going really wide, and then we start clarifying, bringing down information and getting more specific in regards to how did they find the test, technical problems, etc., etc. Okay, so I just want to take a quick moment to say, if you are struggling to find deals and struggling for time, which is a classic thing in this business, have a think about getting a virtual assistant. They cost just $3 per hour. And you know what? We have trained VAs ready to go. They're going to help you out in scaling your business. We support you for 12 weeks and we charge a one-time fee, and they can change the game. There is a reason why we've placed over 750 VAs with sellers just like you. Have a look at the link down below. Check out the FastTrackFBA VA Academy today.
Since there is already like a video tutorial, I just follow the instruction and it's actually just okay. It's just really easy if we base it on the video tutorial that I watched.
And if I put it in perspective, the test is very, very representative of the work you'd be doing. So if I put it in perspective, is that 98% of the work you'd be doing is exactly the same as the test. And if I make it even clearer, is to say you are literally going to a store, finding a product, going to Amazon, finding the same product, working out the profit and the margin. And if it meets certain criteria, great, put it forward. If it doesn't, then carry on. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that basic concept of copy, paste, check, what you'd be doing 98% of your time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I'm going to be honest, it's boring. Like, it's not the most exciting. How would you be with that?
Okay, before I let her answer, please understand what I'm doing here. A lot of the times as human beings, we try to upsell or say how great things are, but this is really bad in interviewing, because what you're going to do is you're going to make the job opportunity, what you're offering, just way better than it actually is. And that's not what you want to do. And especially when you're looking at Amazon sources, the problem comes is that this role is actually boring. We've all done sourcing before and it's like, oh my God, it kills time. We do not want to do it. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make this job sound like the worst job in the world. And what I'm specifically looking for, how do they react? If they react like, oh, yeah, like I would love it, then I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work. But if they come back and say, hey, yeah, like that sounds fine. I've done a previous job like that and that was fine. I did that for 2 years. I'd be like, wow, that's really good. So I'm really interested to see what their initial first reaction is. And I'll do this a lot in interviewing. I'll do it whereby maybe I'll do instead of trying to look for what's known as confirmation bias, for them to say, yes, I'll like it, maybe I'll try and get them to say, they'll have to reject what I'm saying. Let's get back on.
I really didn't find it boring because with that type of task, it's actually interesting because you have to, it's really challenging, especially that you really have to make sure that the item that you're looking at is the same as the item that you're trying to find in Amazon, because there are there are products wherein the picture is the same, but it's the quantity and then the quality is different, especially with the Palmolive shampoo that you had during the test. I was quite confused because the picture is actually different from the ones in the Amazon website. But when I checked the product description, it actually stated the same. Then that's the reason why I chose that. So for me, it's really not kind of boring. It's still challenging because you have to make sure it's the same item.
Now, I will just say I love her answer. I think it's brilliant. So what we normally see in these situations is whereby a candidate will just go like, no, that's fine. But they won't give any context. They won't make it like, should we say, anything where you like actually believe what you're saying. Now, I'm not saying that the candidate is lying, but obviously in the interview, it's never black or white. It's a kind of shade of gray. And so what am I really looking for? I'm looking for obviously them to say, no, the test was fine. It wasn't the most boring test, or obviously this isn't going to be the most boring job in the world that you're explaining. But also number two, they give more context. They give more ideas about what happened, and also how they talk about it seems genuine. So you can see here, she like A, came across really confident, B, she disagreed with me, which I really like, in the fact that she said, no, it wasn't that boring. And then C, she just talked about like the problems she had, and I was like, wow, you've got a really good memory. Like, you remembered this test. Like, I think that's great. So again, I love her answer. I think it's great.
Okay. And if you want to know the test, we put some challenging products in there to see how you react, because obviously if they're all easy, you would be like, how do you differentiate the people who can deal with challenging without us telling them about it and those who can't? So I think if you're going to ask, if the question is how well did you do, well, you did well enough that you got here. That's the answer you need to know. Okay, fine. The work is very representative of the test, i.e. copy and paste. There is more to it than I won't deny. It's about how we speed you up and do the analysis. And what we teach is the analysis, that's it. But that general method of copy, paste, find, review a deal, that is what you are doing 98% of the time. And then there's some analysis off the top end of that. So I think, look,
Okay, so just also as well, before I think this is wrapping up now, just look at like how I'm coming across in it. So I'm not trying to be the big boss. I'm not trying to, she say like, I own the company, you're going to work for me, or any kind of power trip. I'm really trying to be like, I just want to be really honest with you. I want to explain how this role is going to be, what you're going to be doing in the most easiest to understand ways. And I want that if I offer you this job, you're going to come into it knowing that exactly what's going to happen. And then also as well, how we're going to be in our interaction. I say this as a leader in my business is the fact that I'm not looking here to tell people what to do. I'm going to help you understand how to do the work that needs to be done. But my God, you have to have the intelligence and the desire and the willingness to actually do it day in and day out. I'm not here to micromanage you. That's not my interest. So again, all of my interviews come across like that. I'm very kind of personable, and I have no real desire to be more powerful or above them. I want it to be very much a conversation, and I want that to be come across and see how do they react. And again, lovely interview here. Absolutely love it.
From my perspective, I've got a number of interviews to get through. So what I'll do is I will get back to you Monday or Tuesday next week, and we'll let you know if you're successful or if you're unsuccessful. And then from there, obviously, we'll let you know the next steps.
Okay, so just a quick wrap up there on that final bit. So one thing that I really make a point of is always just telling people what the next steps are. I never say you haven't got it, you've not. If I really think the interview was awful, or when we talked about the direction the VA is going in. So for example, maybe they've done like graphic design, and now they want to do Amazon sourcing. I'm like, I'm not saying you're not going to do Amazon sourcing, but I just don't think you're going to stay with me. You'll go back to graphic design. That could be an example. So if I see that, I'll probably just tell them and say, look, it's probably not going to work. So I'd rather just say no now. But if it's kind of on the fence, then I will also make a point that I will tell them when I will give them a yes or no back. And I will make a point of saying no. And I think this is really important because so many people in hiring get to the interview stage and they never hear anything back. Now, it's not to say that you've got to give them feedback, but it is just nice to say yes or no, because I think it goes a really long way. On top of this, also as well, candidates keep emailing you, waiting for an answer, and you keep blanking them. But also as well, it might be the case that maybe they come back later in a year's time and they interview you again, and you know they're like, hey, you've changed now, I really like this, or now you've got the skills I'm looking for another role. And because they had a good experience with you, this time they might be like, wow, I get a chance to work with you. Great. So I always think it's good just to leave a positive, should we say, sentiment within the network, within the industry of people you're interviewing, because hey, you plan to be in this game for a long period of time, and so therefore you may see the same candidates again. Trust me, it does happen. So let's hear my wrap up.
Your thoughts on her, really? Yeah, I liked her. I thought she's good. I've got no problem with her. The fact that my only one concern would come to the fact that she is she had 28,000 per month. She was getting $5 an hour in a part-time job, and now we're going to be offering her less. That's a concern because it basically means she might be looking for another job. But I'd just say it's something to be careful of. But on the flip side, is to say that she was working on site and she'd have traveling costs, and now she's going to be at home and have flexi time. So there's an element there, but she's aware of the Amazon process. I'm not saying she's done Amazon sourcing. She's had 2 contracts ended quite recently, but she's had long-term jobs with them. So I like stability in that. She's a stay-at-home mum. If we can give her flexi time, that's really going to work. And she talked about the test not being boring, and even talked about the differences in like the labels, which was quite nice to see. So she picked up on that. So generally nice person, seems right. Interesting enough, on our time test, she did really well. So definitely happy to put her forward. Quite liked her. That's my teaser.
Okay, so one thing I just did there was wrap up my thoughts, and 2 kind of top tips for you. 1, record all of the interviews that you do, and when you finish the interview, let the person go and then summarize your thoughts about the candidate on the recorded call. Because when you're doing lots of interviewing, sometimes this is really, really hard. So you can just watch that last snippet back of the recording. Now, number 2, what I actually do when I do this as well is I load up ChatGTP and I just transcribe to ChatGTP and ask it to clean up my notes. So then I have a written transcription. So what I just said, you can now use ChatGTP to help you out. Now, the final thing which I kind of highlight there is about how did I think about summaries. So again, I was looking for really when I'm doing my interviewing, I'm looking for a reason why we shouldn't progress them rather than why we should. I'm trying to say what are the concerns? So I mentioned that salary was a concern there. Now, the one thing I do understand is that they're going to now be working from home versus their higher salary, which is in an office, and there is cost to travel. And so really, if I was doing a good job, I would have found out how much that cost was. And then I would have worked out, if this is actually a pay rise, once you take out that additional cost that you used to pay or no longer have to pay. So again, I would have done that. And again, these are the notes that we should take. And by the way, if you later find a problem and you want to just follow up with it, drop them an email, ask the question, get the VA back on a call. It doesn't matter. Find the right answers. I always say, assume nothing, question everything. And as so important. But I really liked that candidate. I thought she was amazing. And also as well, you can just kind of see how I went through that interview, through that process. Now, what I will say is that interview is something great that's going to help you scale your business. And one of the questions that we always get asked is, actually, when you are hiring a VA, what kind of results can you get? This is why I put together a video around here about the results that we typically see as a minimum for the clients that we get for a VA that costs $3 per hour in sourcing. And I'm talking profits here. So check out that video and obviously see how you can scale your Amazon business today.